There's a lot of MMA stuff we got to get into, unless there's any more boxing stuff you want to talk to. But Nate Diaz, we got to talk about the interview with Ariel. I thought Nate came across really well. The thing that surprised me, and I'm curious to get your thoughts on this, is Charles Oliveira. That was one name I did not expect to hear because, it's a business. We talked about Oliveira's marketability. Were you surprised when he said that? I know you talk to him all the time, but what was sort of your reaction to that name coming up? I give Nate credit. It's a dangerous fight.
Not surprised at all. Nate likes guys that are coming off of wins, and he likes guys who fight, not stall. Right? They actually fight. Because look, there's ways you can win the fight. There's different ways to win a fight. Right? You can score points and win a fight. I know guys that do that. I've seen guys do that. There's that style of fighting, and there's guys who stall. There's guys who just take it to the ground and stall it there. But Charles doesn't do that. Charles fights. He's a fighter. He's a real fighter. So, and he has a good style, so it's going to be an entertaining fight no matter what. And I remember that thing I talked to you about, carrying a pay-per-view. Chandler and Charles can't carry pay-per-views. I don't think Dustin can carry the pay-per-view, but, and take a guy like Charles and carry that pay-per-view, right? Or take a guy like Chandler and carry that pay-per-view. I don't think he could do that. But Nate can. Nate can carry Charles. Nate can carry Charles in the pay-per-view and sell it out just fine, So he knew that. And this is what I was saying when I was talking on here a few weeks back when we had our last podcast. Guys got to be able to carry. If a guy doesn't have a name, it doesn't make sense to make a fight with that guy unless you could carry it, or else you just won't be able to sell it, And once you have two guys who can't carry something, you're gonna put them. Where they go? They go on cable. Fight night Saturday or whatever.
Prelims. Yeah, well, not prelims, but you know what I mean. They're gonna be on free TV as opposed to a pay-per-view. You need a strong name for a pay-per-view.
Correct. You need strong names to be able to sell the pay-per-view, and that's just what it is. And Nate knows. But again, like I tell you guys, and all of these media people, man, they always ask me, and it's so funny because I'm a media guy because of Fanatics with my brother.
Course,
and us, but I'm still a manager first, and I'm still a fight guy first. And I always want to do an interview. Always want to do interviews with my guys or my guys that I work with or I'm with, and the Diaz's don't do interviews for a reason, because when they come out and speak, they speak loud and it's volume, and what they mean, what they say, they mean, and then they drop the mic and walk out, and you ain't gonna hear again from them for a little minute. And because all these fighters just want to talk, and just say a bunch of shit and just talk, and say a whole bunch of nothing, and it doesn't hold weight. But when Nick and Nate talk, it holds weight. You feel how heavy that is yesterday. You know what I mean? And that's just the truth. And I know that. And they've set up their life and career like that. And they're not gonna get out of that. And it was brilliant. It was well done. We were supposed to do that last week. Yeah, we were supposed to do that last week. Well, but the training was just too severe that week, and it was like he was doing 3 a days, man. I mean, that motherfucker was doing 3 a days, bro. Just no, Nate was in there doing 3 a days. We trained 3 times a day, every day, and yeah, it was hard, man. It was hard. There was no time to do the interview, but he found some time this weekend, was able to say what he needed to say. And people online always want to make different fights. The fights are going to make themselves.
Yeah.
Just, you got to give it time and allow things to do what it does. And Nate does that. People think these guys are dumb. These guys are so much smarter than the rest of these guys. These fighters are jocks. These guys are smart. They are way ahead of them. And that's what it is, What did you think about? Hold on. What did you think about the interview?
I thought it was good. I did find it, like I said, I was a little bit surprised with the Oliveira thing, only because, Nate's obviously wants to make as much money as he can. I would think that fighting a McGregor or even a Poirier, I think, would hold more weight than Oliveira at this point, just even from a marketing standpoint. You know what I mean? I know Oliveira's a game guy, but
there's 2 guys, right? So there's Dustin, like I told you, right? Yeah. There's Dustin, that's there, and then there's Charles. So you have 2 options. You give me one of these 2 guys, or give Dustin preferably, because we already have that history going on. But go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, why is Jorge not an option?
Because
we'll talk about him because
Jorge was coming off of that loss.
Oh,
to
that's true. I
Usman.
get. Okay, yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah,
Sorry.
so he
Yeah,
doesn't he doesn't really like a guy coming off of a loss and then fighting that guy after that. He would rather fight a guy that won, and it makes perfect sense. He wants to fight the winners. But the line that really stuck out to me in that interview, he said to me, he said in that interview, he said, I would rather. He goes, all of you guys get finished. You guys get
Oh no, I know
stopped.
that
You
line.
guys
Yeah.
get choked out. He said, you guys get stopped. You guys get choked out. And you guys always want to talk about my record and say all this shit about my record. He goes, I'd rather have 100 losses like mine than one of yours. I said, oh shit, that hit home to a lot of fighters because you're not gonna finish him. And in the art of war, these guys are martial artists. They're like these guys could have existed 1,000 years ago. With Genghis Khan 5,000 years ago. These guys are like that. They're cut like that. And it's kill or be killed. So a kill is considered a knockout or a choke or unconscious or whatever. And if you don't do that to me, then you're doing all of this touch and go and kick and move and you're really just trying to get away with the win. But we know one-on-one I'll kill you. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how they look at it. It's the art of war, and that matters to them. That's a loss to them. The way Conor got handled, he got stopped and the fight was over and he was on his face on the ground. What do you say to that? You got that. That's a loss, and every time he loses, it's the same thing. So that line really stuck out to me, and I felt that it was really heavy.
Well, and you're right. Like you look at Nate's losses, they are, for the most part, well, they pretty much are all decision losses. Although technically, I mean, if we're going to get a little stickler here, because I know some people mention it, Josh Thompson did finish him. I know it was a towel throw in, but he still beat him.
Yeah. And just like the same,
it doesn't matter. I mean,
way,
most fans don't even remember that fight.
No, they're not going to remember that. But even like the Poirier thing, right? The doctor.
Well, that was a doctor. See, I could see him getting away with that because again, that the doctor came in and stopped it. It wasn't necessarily he wanted to continue to fight. It was the doctor who made the call, and they probably could have let it go. I mean, it was fine.
Yeah. So this is the fight business. All these things happen and it takes place. So it is what it is. But everybody's been put on notice. So there's really nothing else to talk about other than, with the rest of these guys, because everybody knows what time it is. So it's up to you and your team, Dustin, and you and your team, Charles, and for the UFC to make it make sense. And again, we talked about this. Me and you talked about this about a week or two ago.
Yeah.
What does a belt mean? What does a belt really mean? And honestly, the belt only means something if the person who's wearing it means something. If just another guy is wearing it, it really means nothing. And think about it. Like I always go back to the time when Woodley had the belt, right? And he was going on that 3-4 year run that he was on, and the UFC really hated having him as the champion. And we kind of all knew this, right? You knew it, I knew the whole world kind of knew the UFC didn't like Tyron Woodley as a champion because he was a quote unquote boring champion. But they started pushing for Till to get that title. So Till sat at 7, Kamaru sat at 7, right? They were both ranked number 7 in the world. What made them decide to push Till in front of Usman was the fact that they would have rather Till be the champion because he's more popular and cooler and he has a whole country backing him than to have Usman, who has a whole continent backing him, but he's not as cool or popular as Till was at that time. So the character of Till pushed him over Usman to get the title shot first, but you pushed him too far too soon, and he was not ready, and he was never going to be a champion at that point. So you pushed the guy ahead of a guy who did not deserve a shot over Usman, realistically, if you're going to be honest, and you saw it fell right in his face. It's like, oh fuck! Now we got to hand off the welterweight title from Woodley to Usman, to where they consider those two guys not to be the most entertaining or popular guys. So now you're going on a welterweight run where it's not really, it's not really like.
And they weren't even the main event of that card. I think it was Jones and Anthony Smith. This was the main event, which the poster back here, if you can't see it, but that's only how I remember that. And I was at that fight. But yeah, you're right. Like you can clearly see what the UFC is trying to do. It's
it's right in your face.
It's not on merit, right?
Yeah.
It's on entertainment and fanfare. But here, I did want to touch on this because this is sort of the last thing I want to mention about Oliveira. So Oliveira's come out and I don't know if it's him or his team, but they've said we only want to fight for a belt. I don't know if he's going to waive that whole thing just to fight Nate. Whereas like someone like Dustin, I know Dustin doesn't care about the belt. He's already pretty much said it. Like he's just in for the big fight. So I almost feel like Dustin would be a more likely fight for Nate than Charles, just because Charles seems very fixated on the belt. What's your read on that?
Yeah. I mean, whatever's clever, brother. Whatever makes you sleep at night and whatever floats your boat and whatever you guys think is best for your career, then you do it. Belts are important. Belt significance, it has a significant meaning because it says that you are the best in your division at your weight class because you've reached the mountaintop. The belt is essentially reaching the mountaintop of your profession, but that doesn't guarantee you to be a star, and it doesn't guarantee you to make a lot of more money. Because when you become a champion, most guys think when they become a champion, then they become popular, and now the big opportunities present themselves, which they do. But there's levels to this shit, my guy. And you don't have enough of the personality to be the guy. You don't have enough to be that guy. So even with the belt around your waist, it really don't mean nothing. You're just another guy, honestly. And again, I like Oliveira, but you're just another guy. These guys come and they go, bro. In history, and when history tells it all, you're telling me that. Some of these guys who have more wins, who have less losses than Nate, when history's told, we look at fighting 20 years from now, 30 years from now, 50 years from now. You think some of these guys are going to be remembered? More than Nathan is? Nathan is stamped. Like history stamped. He's a legend. He's a living legend. And that goes for any guys like that, So I would rather get a win like that than fight a guy for a belt. It's like do you fight Manny Pacquiao, or do you fight, whoever the current champion is at your weight?
Yeah, it's about there's the entertainment side of it, 100%.
What would most fighters pick? They'd pick to fight Manny Pacquiao.
Of course, yeah.
Because it's just bigger, it's better, it's more money. But you got another guy here who's a world champion that you can fight. Why don't you fight the world champion over here? Because it's not the same. You see what I'm saying? It's not the same, bro. So that's what it is, man. And to each his own, bro. But Dustin is smartening up. You see what I'm saying? Dustin's like he's following the lead. He's seeing he's picking up what's being laid down. You know what I'm saying? But it's taken him a while to come around to this, and we'll see what he does now. We'll see how it behaves. Because at first, when that fight was supposed to happen in New York with Dustin in it, he was still like, he still didn't get it. But I feel like he's starting to get it now. And it's like, this is how the game needs to be played, bro. And I hope he gets it. So we'll see how it all plays out.
It's going to be a domino effect. Yeah.
Either way. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I think it's going to be a domino effect. Whatever, like if they book McGregor and Poirier, if they book whatever, like you're going to see all these other fights sort of come out. I mean, the timing of Nate doing the interview is perfect because I think they need to figure out what's next for Poirier and for Chandler and for all these guys. And then once they do that, you'll sort of see, I bet this is my guess is that once you see one fight booked, you're going to see a ton of others booked because it's going to take, some fighters out of the equation, right?
Yeah, and these exceptions have been made numerous times in the history of fighting. Like, just
course.
because a guy fights at 155 pounds or fights at 170 pounds doesn't mean he can't fight at another weight, or doesn't mean he can't. Like, that doesn't matter. And don't try to be like, oh well, he has this turn and then it's his turn. No, bro. Bro. It's what needs to happen at that moment, in that moment, and what makes the most sense. That's what needs to happen, and what makes us the most money, and that's what needs to happen. So yeah, it is what it is.